Hello there, and welcome to Alvarez's Diecast Customs. Today we're going to be taking a look at this Hot Wheels Corvette. I was given this one by a friend from work. It's seen better days. Looks like it's had a bit of damage to the roof there. But overall it's quite a nice looking car. Just very tired. I've already taken the time to drill the base out on this one. I start off with a 2mm drill bit, and then work up to a 5mm to take the remaining piece of the head off. And then I use these 2mm self-tapping screws to screw the base back on. Very simple procedure. It just comes off nice and easily. There's that window, we'll just pop that out. It appears to have suffered a few scratches, this window piece. Hopefully I can work those out with a little bit of polish. Won't be able to get rid of them entirely, but I'll see what I can do. There's that body. Just take a closer look at those scuffs. Hopefully they haven't gone too far into the metal. Here's the interior piece. Bit grubby, just give that a good clean and then paint. The front grille attached to it there too. There's the base. The axles are very rusted. Turning the wheels causes the axle to rotate along with it. Those wheels are seized on hard. So we get on with stripping this thing now. Rest in peace, pony. This is the stripper I use. It's just a cheapo paint stripper I buy from Homebase. Buy like a whole litre of it for a couple of quid. Does a really good job of stripping these bodies. Takes about 30 minutes to an hour, just popping them in here and leaving them. And the paint on this one basically just come off like a skin. Very easy. And this is what you're left with after stripping. I also went over quickly with the wire wheel. Quite happy with how this one came out afterwards. It's very good moulding on it. So one of their older models, sort of from the early 2000s. The casting seemed to be a bit of a higher quality back then, it seems. I'm just going to go around just neating some of the lines up with this diamond file. I just noticed on the front bumper here, it's a bit rough, so I'm just going to sharpen up the edges. Spent a while doing this, but not too long. Definitely not compared to a lot of the other cars I've done recently. Is that a lot smoother now? Nicely blended in. A couple of mould lines up on the roof here. We'll just get rid of those. Also just neatening up some of the lines through the windows here. A few mould lines on the rear here. Take those off. And after a little bit of filing, we're left with this. It's all ready for wet sanding now. I like to use these wet sponges that you can pop into some water. It's always the better finish when you do wet sanding. I use the coarser one to begin with. Generally try to keep in the same direction when sanding, when doing the coarser grit. Just working into those scuffs on the roof here. Try and get into every crevice on it and all the angles that it needs. So I like to use these sponges. They seem to get at it a lot easier. And we work up to the finer one. This one's essentially just polishing the finish on it now. It gives a really good key to when you need to paint it. Again, trying to get at it from all the angles. Just really finish that off. That's what we're left with. You can see the metal looks like a very uniform sort of colour to it. It's just what we're after. I'm just going to degrease them before I start painting. I like to use this standard flash degreaser. Just gives a good cleaning up on it. And also you just use an old toothbrush, just rip these wheels out, they pop straight out. Bit of rust damage there, but we can get rid of most of that. I'm just using the teeth of a fork here just to snap back those little clips that held the wheels in. I'll be filing those off eventually anyway. Just apply some of that degreaser. Scrub that interior out. And the base. I'll just get rid of the degreaser on the body here. Just run it under the hot water tap just to remove any of the residue. And there we go. They're all ready to dry off and then ready for paint. So we need to sort some wheels out for this thing. So we've gone to see our goddess Super Pochaco again. Oh, what's that? Nice. Let's have a look at these. Looks like a set of Rail Riders. Yeah, I'm liking these. These look like they go really well with this Corvette. Cheers. So it's been into the paint. I went over first with a Halford's Grey primer and then went over the top with this metallic purple. Really pleased with how this one came out. Went over the front piece on the interior there, as it had some body details to it. And there's the base. Went over that as well. Everything had a coating of grey, the grey primer to begin with. As you can see, I've removed those little tabs that held the wheels in. Just clean them areas up, ready for the axles later on. So I'm just going to go ahead and paint some of the front details there in Revell silver. Just using some fine Tamiya brushes for this. Just add some details onto the rear here. Just painting in the tail lights in silver to begin with. I will go over the silver with some clear Tamiya red. Need a very steady hand for that. Just going to add some more details to the base. I'm going to be painting in the exhaust pipes and other little details on the base here. There we go. On the body, I also used a Molotow chrome pen just to pick out the bumpers on the front and rears, and also just went around the front windows. I like to use the helping hands to hold it steady while using that. Now I'm just going to go over the front grille piece with some Nuln oil. This sort of clings to all the depths of this, really bringing out some definition on it. Just pop that down, let that dry. Go over the entire base of this with the Nuln oil too. Just really picks out some more details here. There's that. I'm just going to go paint the interior too. I felt like doing this white. I thought it would contrast well with the purple. Using some Tamiya flat white just to go around. So we're just going to sort out these wheels now. Got the rear one here. That one fits perfectly into the rear. No cutting or axles involved. But the front ones are just a bit too narrow. So we're going to have to fashion up our own axle tube to get those to fit. I like to use some black brass rod here. Very simple to use. Very easy to cut as well. Just sizing it up. Just pop it into the slot where it needs to go. I'll just use a Sharpie just to roughly mark where I'm going to need to cut. You can cut this brass very easily just using a nice sharp scalpel, just rolling it on the cutting mat. It's a very nice clean cut when you do it this way. If you were to use sort of some side pliers, you'd end up crushing it before you ended up cutting it. As you can see, just cutting it with the scalpel there leaves a very round shape to it. It doesn't crush it at all. We're going to need to cut these original axles in half. Just get some side cutters, snip those in half there. They slot neatly into this brass tubing. With that done, you can see it fits very nicely at the front there now. Now, in order to glue these in, I like to take a little channel out on both sides of it. So I'm just going to mark roughly where I'm going to need to do it with the Sharpie again. If you were to just put glue onto the tips of the axles and thread them in, you'd end up pushing the glue into the wheels, and you'd end up just gluing the wheels to the axles, and it'd just make a right mess. So I found the best way of doing this is to take a notch out of the tube in here. I think I saw this on Time Riders videos once. It was a really good way of doing it, and I felt like trying it, and it works really well. Just test fitting here. Struggling to get those in because my eyes just aren't what they should be. See, just about see the axles through there. I like to use some gel super glue. It's a bit easier to use than the standard super glues. Much thicker, so it doesn't run everywhere. Much more controllable. The thin super glue tends to just bleed everywhere, and you just don't have much control. Just use a piece of little cardboard just to push a bit of glue into those slots. Just thread the axle into it. And as you can see, it pushes the glue through there. Just push the axle all the way in with the scalpel tip. There we go, that's glued in already. And do the same for the other side. Perfect. Just sit that down and let that dry for a while. And we can get on to building this thing up. There's the finished interior. Did a couple more coats of the Tamiya white and picked out some extra detail in the center of the seats there with some grey. Also did some extra details at the front there with a chrome pen. This was after a clear coat as well. Did 2 coats of clear coat on the base and on the body. There's that base, nicely clear coated. There's that window. I polished that up and then went over quickly with some Tamiya clear gloss. Seems to have covered up most of the scratches, not entirely, but it's definitely much clearer than it was before. There's that body after some clear coat. I'll reveal it entirely soon. Pop the body in, pop the interior. It's my axles that I fashioned up, all dried now. Wheels spin freely. They're just a direct fit. Just pop these screws in. So, here we go. Very pleased with how this one came out. It's a really beautiful purple. Very deep glittery colour to it. And these wheels I felt went perfect with it too. You can see some extra details I did around the rear there. An extra chrome pen on the front really brought the details out there too. I also went into the little vents on the side of the body there with some Nolan oil, just to give a bit of depth to them. And also around the rear, just around the license plate and the bumpers. Bit of Nolan oil too. Let's take a closer look at him here. As he still freely rolls as a Hot Wheels car should do. Really happy with how the clear coat came out on this once again. Very reliable procedure that I've got for that clear coat now. There's those tail lights with the Tamiya clear red. Painting onto the silver paint gives a good bit of depth to them. I'm glad I went with the white interior, makes it pop quite nicely with that purple. Blue windows actually go quite well with it. There's the base. I had a good coat, a clear coat as well. Comes out really nicely, that does. So yeah, very happy with this one. Another great one to add to my collection. I'll also just show you how that paint came out in the dark. You put some light onto it, you can really see the sparkle. It's quite impressive, really. I'm going to start looking into possibly getting some more sort of reflective paints, maybe color shifters and things. So we're just going to go back to our goddess, Super Bochaco, again and see what she's got for us next time. Ah, what's that? Nice. It's a Nissan Skyline. It's a make a nice change from all the muscle cars and whatnot I've been doing recently. Yeah, liking this one. Liking it a lot. Thanks for that. So I just want to thank you for watching. And thank you for all the comments and subscribers I've been getting recently as well. It's really helping me out. Sort of making me realise that what I'm doing here is a good thing. I've quite enjoyed doing it. It's a nice sort of side projects that I have. I do a lot of drawing and things, gaming and Hot Wheels customizations is just something else I do on the side. It's nice that people enjoy seeing what I do. So yeah, thanks. This has been Alvarez's Diecast Customs, and hopefully I'll see you next time.